Green economy, emerging industries, and huge consumption upgrading demands are providing continuous impetus for China's economy to achieve high-quality development.
So I'd say there is still a great potential for China market to grow. This demand, if you keep this rate in the next 5 years alone, it will at least double your existing percentage of the electric vehicle in the current fleet.
The insurance industry remains in a crucial strategic opportunity phase, poised for continued growth in 2024, influenced by factors like policy directives, regulatory guidance, and market needs.
China is expected to become the second largest insurance market worldwide and offers huge potential.
China's booming new energy industry and commitment to carbon neutrality and peaking goals have attracted domestic and international automakers to actively participate in the new energy sector.
It is, the continued investment globally, so we're making some large-scale investments for the new generation and the new technologies, and we're making a lot of those investments here in China.
Join this week's BizTalk to gain insights into China's upward economic growth momentum, only on BizTalk, only on CGTN. China's shift towards green industries as key drivers of growth is gaining significant traction, with electric vehicles leading the charge. Last year, China solidified its position as the global leader in auto production and sales volume for 15 consecutive years, producing and selling around 9.5 million units of new energy vehicles each. In the race for electric vehicle dominance, China's prowess in cobalt refining stands out, providing a crucial advantage. The importance of securing critical raw materials for powering the green economies of tomorrow is increasingly recognized. With ambitious targets, China aims for a staggering 45% market share in electric vehicles by 2027, surpassing its original goal of 40% by 2030. This strategic move creates a pivotal opportunity for companies like Eurasian Resources Group, the world's foremost cobalt producers, to capitalize on China's growing demand for sustainable energy solutions.
Yuan, thank you so much for joining us on the program. So ERG has been in the China market for around 30 years now. What are your strategic priorities currently for this market?
ERG is a mining-oriented company, as you said, working in China for over 30 years. Our main products are metals that are both in the traditional area of supporting the Chinese industry as well as in the new economy. So those are iron ore, aluminium, copper, cobalt. So these metals we've been supplying to China for almost 30 years. So the first role that we have seen China is the biggest and the most important market for ERG. That's the first role. And our strategic goal is very well aligned with the Chinese government's goal of developing green energy. Because some of the metals we produce, like copper, aluminium, and cobalt, they are essential materials for developing electric vehicles and batteries. This is also our company's strategy to follow and benefit, hopefully, from this development of China new green energy economy and develop ourselves at the same time. Right. So that is our current thinking of China. We've been looking at it as a market, but we're working now with China as partnership.
So talk to us about the scale of demand when it comes to critical minerals in the China market. China has a very ambitious green development goal, right, in terms of peaking carbon emissions by the year 2030 and then reaching carbon neutrality by 2060. And it seems to me that if you have such a big goal for such a large economy, that must have substantial effects in terms of global impact, in terms of spillovers, and also for ERG. So what is the scale of demand for China when it comes to these critical minerals that will power the world's green transition?
That's a very good question. We've seen exceptional growth of requirement of these critical materials in the past 5 years. I thought about it because I remembered every year we make new expectations and prognosis for the next 5 years. Every time we were wrong because we were too conservative. Usually you are too optimistic, but in this case we were always too conservative. And to follow on our example on that particular plant of RTR, this plant produces 100,000 tons of copper and 2.4 thousand tons of cobalt every year. That is, if you look at a single asset, this is probably one of the biggest already in the world. But that part of the cobalt is enough to power 3.5 million of electric vehicles. But if you look at the current speed of growing the electric vehicle market in China, I'm afraid there's not enough material at the moment to fulfill those demands. Because mining industry to develop a new set of supply sources takes time. So if you want to match the speed of growing market like China did in the past 5 years, you need to think in long term and invest already now to be able to meet up the demands that's coming in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I want to ask you about sustainable and responsible supply chains in just a second, but I want to get your thoughts on China's EV market, because we are right now in the world's largest EV market.
Correct.
In terms of production, in terms of sales, and I want to get your take in terms of how much more potential does this market have to grow? I mean, China has a target of, let's say, 50% new energy vehicle penetration by the year 2030, but 2035, I should say. But that goal potentially could already be reached next year, so about
Correct.
9 to 10 years earlier than expected. How much more room does it have to grow in terms of the electric vehicle market? I mean, 10 years ago, we weren't thinking about lithium.
Correct.
Now lithium is such an important metal for China, so how much more legroom and runway does the EV market have here?
Well, this is just my personal view, because I've been wrong in the past 5 years about this topic so many times. Now I have to be even more optimistic on this. So I'd say there is still a great potential for China market to grow on the electric market, because the penetration rate you talk about is just the newly sold EVs. If you look at the existing fleet of entire automobiles, those are still dominated by the fossil-based energy, right? Petrol. And give it more time, if you talk about 2035, give it another 10 years, more EVs will be replacing not only the newly sold, but also the existing fleet. So based on our internal estimates, my personal view, I think this demand, if you keep this rate in the next 5 years alone, it will at least double your existing percentage of the electric vehicle in the current fleet. So that's the reason I said at the beginning, even looking at the big mine like RTR, it gives you 3 million electric vehicles, supports 3 million, 3.5 million. That's not enough. You need 10 of those projects to be able to support the next 5 to 10 years of growth of China. So we're very optimistic in this industry. And China has shown that it's not just a theory. It has already become the reality. It's proven it works, not only in the EV itself, but also in the associated infrastructure. Don't forget, you need a well-developed infrastructure to be able to support such large amount of electric vehicles. And we've seen evidence that Chinese government has heavily supported our different kinds of suppliers to build such infrastructures. So if you look at the numbers there, they have also been growing exponentially, not on the EV numbers. So I think we're very confident that by supporting of the innovative companies, also the Chinese government, reaching the same goal, we will get there. We will have a much larger potential than what we've already seen.
Yeah. So you spoke about the Global Battery Alliance.
Correct.
Are Chinese companies interested in joining this alliance?
Yes, they are. I think not only the Chinese companies, but also we have something similar in China as an organization. Now these two organizations, they are working together as well, including the leading battery producers, the refineries and end customers. So I think not only the European and the international ones, but also the Chinese corporates are very interested in joining this association.
And then there are concerns outside of China when it comes to both the short-term and long-term growth potential of the world's second largest economy. How concerned are you about that? So we talked about the massive demand when it comes to critical minerals, when it comes to electric vehicles. How do you square that with the current concerns that we see? And what is your outlook for the long-term potential of China?
We as a company are still very positive about the long-term future of the Chinese economy, because we've seen robust development in the past few years that are structurally different than it has been in the past 20 years. Give you one example. I talked about we see China as just a market 30 years ago. And we started to build projects with Chinese partners, and now we're talking co-developing and working on the equity level with Chinese companies. That's the shift of thinking from the China perspective. So you want to make sure you have security, ensure reliable supply from the source for critical materials. And the Chinese companies are doing so. So instead of just processing and producing the end product, Now they're more looking at going outside China and to be part of that upstream industry. And this is a good sign we see, which will, I think, personally, ensure a more stable long-term growth of the Chinese economy, because this ensures that you will be less affected by the short-term fluctuation of the dynamics of the market, which is what you see today. So today you can talk about geopolitics, market dynamics, natural disasters, and all these, including the financial speculations, a lot of reasons, right? But in the long term, I think building a robust supply chain, and that also includes upstream, is the key of ensuring that in the long run, you can be more robust against the short-term dynamics and short-term fluctuations. And this is what we've seen in the past few years around the Chinese companies. That's why I personally think we're still very positive about the long-term growth of the Chinese economy.
Yuan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up next, the electric vehicle boom in China isn't just driving the automotive industry, it's also propelling the motor insurance sector forward. According to figures from global data, the motor insurance industry in China is poised for substantial growth, with a projected compound annual growth rate of 4.5% from $129.1 billion in 2023 to $171.9 billion in 2028. Joining us next is Cindy Cui, General Manager and Executive Director of Allianz China Life Insurance Company, Limited, to delve deeper into the financial landscape supporting China's green transformation.
Here on BizTalk, we connect the dots, shedding light on the real stories behind the economic landscape. To better understand China's dynamism and the economies and rhythms of business, propelling new drivers of growth.
China.
Yeah, right.
Chinese market.
The next China is China.
BizTalk, your window into China and the global economy. Only on BizTalk.
We know that China currently is one of the largest insurance markets in the world. How do you perceive the potential of its future growth for this market?
Allianz is a firm believer of long-term commitment to the Chinese market. China's GDP was 126 trillion yuan in 2023 and grew by 5.2%. This is a higher growth than most of the advanced economies. China's insurance premium is expected to grow at around 8% each year and will reach 1.5 trillion euros in 2033. China is expected to become the second largest insurance market worldwide and offers huge potential. China welcomes overseas investment and has been fostering a favorable business environment and a level playing field for international companies.
Just like you said, the Chinese government has been making efforts to further open up its financial sector, including insurance, to more foreign investors. So how will Allianz take advantage of these developments to further expand its business operations in China?
Allianz has been deeply engaging in and benefiting from China's financial opening up. We have made very good progress in recent years in building a stronger presence. We set up the first ever 100% foreign-owned insurance holding company, Allianz China Insurance Holding, and subsequently the first 100% foreign-owned insurance asset management company, IAMC. We have been encouraging collaboration across all our Allianz franchises. For example, Allianz China Life is partnering with our service entity, Allianz Partners, on the overseas travel insurance to provide our customers with the complete services while they're overseas. Moving forward, we aim to forge stronger collaborations with our sister companies, pooling our strengths and resources to serve customers both locally and globally.
And as the CEO of Allianz China Life Insurance, what's your vision for the company's business in China, and what are your main goals and priorities in the coming years?
Allianz China Life has grown into the largest Allianz entity in China, reaching a significant milestone as we just celebrated our 25th anniversary last month. I fully agree that high-quality development is the focal point for China's economic growth and regulatory focus. This lies precisely in our strategic focus as well. Our strategic focus encompasses our customer-centric model to protect our clients throughout their life stages, harnessing our global brand assets to drive value creation for profitable growth, implementing performance-based management and commitment to long-term development by continuously consolidating the foundation for future success.
And we know that China's insurance industry is also becoming more and more digital. How will Allianz keep up with the trend to provide a better customer services and experiences for its Chinese market?
Our digital transformation very much aligns with the business roadmap, embedding our local capabilities into our global operations. Online services are one of the pillars of our digitalization process. Our WeChat service account, Allianz Online, is one of the highlights, a one-stop solution integrating policy servicing, claims, value-added services, and health management services. Another pillar is empowering our sales and distribution with our digital capabilities. For example, we launched last year a policy review system and an underwriting database to support our agents in the field in their sales with customer data and insights.
And in terms of adapting to local demands in China, are there any successful cases that you want to share?
Along with the economic growth and the rise of the new middle class in China, millennials and Gen Z are becoming the main consumer forces in China. We have been trying to ride this wave, taking comprehensive steps in our distribution and value-added service ecosystem to better serve these younger customers. Our agency recruitment strategy targets well-educated younger agents aged between 25 and 35, preferably with overseas experience, to build a younger and more professional agency force. The average age of our agents is now 36 years old, significantly lower than the industry average. Positioned as a core service component, our youth club, offering lifestyle and healthcare benefits, caters to the target young customers. In a nutshell, we have accumulated experience in building an ecosystem to serve local youth. In the next phase, we will continue to strengthen our advantages on addressing further needs of this consumer segment.
Coming up next, as China's new energy industry rapidly expands and commits to its dual carbon goals, the new energy vehicle market has undergone significant growth in 2023. To gain a deeper understanding of China's current business landscape and the perspectives of multinational automotive companies on the future economic development and automotive industry in China, joining us next is Jim Rowan, President and CEO of Volvo Cars, as our guest today.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
You're watching CGTN with the latest market-moving headlines from around the world.
Welcome to the world today on CGTN.
What do the financial results from 2023 tell you about Volvo's future development plan in the new year?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we were extremely pleased with the results of 2023. We had record number of units sold, we had record revenues, and we had record profits. So the number of units sold was up by 15%, our revenues were up by 21%, and our profits were up by 43%. So I was very pleased with the 2023 year, but even more so because it helped us lay foundations for 2024 and beyond. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, signifies the strength of Volvo Cars globally that our brand is strong, that our customers like the products that we're creating and designing, and also that we have good sales teams and commercial teams around the world to help deliver those results. So we're very happy, but we have a lot of work still ahead. It is, I mean, the continued investment globally, so we're making some large-scale investments for the new generation and the new technologies, and we're making a lot of those investments here in China. So this is the 4th phase of the expansion in Jiading, and that signifies again another milestone for us in terms of future development of technology investments. One of the things we really enjoy about being in China is that we have access to really good talent. And that helps us very quickly deliver the technologies of the future and then get that into the products, which brings benefits to our customers. So yeah, it's a great symbol for us.
So speaking of the future of automobiles, so we know that Volvo, you have your own 2030 strategy that you aim to become a fully electric car company by that time. How does China fit in that picture?
Yeah, and China right now is going through a massive transformation. As anyone who has been here recently, they see how many new startups there are, especially in the EV space. There's no question for me that electrical propulsion is a better technology, but it will take some time to move in that direction. We need to make sure we build out the charge infrastructure, and we need to also, convince our customers that it's time to move to full electrification. So I think we're in really good shape as a company.
Yeah, that actually leads to my next question, because your 2030 strategy is really built on this scenario, expectations of, let's say, legislation, and then accessible, quality charging infrastructure. Really, where are we now in this process of transformation?
Well, we're making good headway, and here in China we see that development happening very fast, and globally we see it accelerating in different parts of the world. Northern Europe, for example, is accelerating very quickly with charge infrastructure and the acceleration towards electrification. Southern Europe's taking a little bit longer. If we look at the United States, on the coastal area of the West Coast, it's accelerating very quickly to electrification. In the interior of the US, it's taking a bit longer. And that's why having mixed technology, having access to both plug-in electric, hybrid, internal combustion, and full EV is really important as we go through that transition.
And speaking of technology, because when I read your resume, you have been taking important positions in many tech firms before you joined the automobile industry. So do you think that technology can solve almost all the formidable challenges that are confronting automakers today?
I do think it positions me as a CEO of an automotive company that really understands technology because of my background, and not just automotive. Because the automotive industry is changing very, very quickly. And it's not just about electrification. We tend to talk about electrification, but the bigger, deeper, and much more complex change is the move towards core compute technology, high computational silicon, data, and connectivity. Those are the 4 areas which are very well used in technology and high-tech companies that are now migrating very quickly into automotive. So yes, we have good electrical propulsion, we understand battery technology, we understand e-motors, we understand inverters, but we also understand high computational silicon, software, connectivity, and data. And those are the 4 key elements which I think will decide who will be successful in the future for next generation automotive.
And what role does your operations here in China play in that blueprint?
Yeah, they play an extremely important role, because I think when you have access to talent globally and you can harness that talent, you can get the teams working together to solve problems together, then you get a synergy effect. And that's what we've found. The more that we've invested here in China, and the more that we've coupled that talent and those investments with other parts of the Volvo network, let's say, then the two of them work together very, very powerfully to speed up innovation, to speed up creativity, to speed up the production and the development of our cars.
And also, some industry insiders will call China as the trendsetter in the electric vehicle market. What would you have to say to that, and what kind of opportunity do you think that brings to a multinational car company like Volvo?
Yeah, I think when you look at the different parts of the world, certainly China moves at a speed faster than most other countries. The development, the innovation pace is faster, and you can learn from that, and you can harness that innovation and really help to push the business forward. Electrification is very, very quick. EV has been very quick in China. But then we can couple with that some of the other learnings that we have from other parts of the world. Of course, Volvo's been around for 100 years. We really understand how to build really well-designed, well-built, very, very safe cars. And you take that together, so you take the EV and the pace and the energy and the innovation of China, and you couple that with the experience and the heritage of Volvo cars, you get a very powerful combination.
So China now is, let's say, taking a leading role ahead of some of the traditional auto juggernauts like Germany and Japan, especially in terms of the electric vehicle market. What do you think is behind this booming EV market?
Well, ultimately, I'm an engineer, so I think you need to peel it back and say, why electrical propulsion? That's the starting point. And if we look at electrical propulsion versus internal combustion, the technology is a better technology. There's less noise. There's less vibration, there's less heat less heat loss, and of course, there's less servicing costs for the customers. There's less moving parts within an electrical engine than there is to an internal combustion engine. And there's zero emissions. So when you look at an internal combustion engine, even a very, very well-designed and well-tuned electrical internal combustion engine, the energy efficiency is about 35%. When you look at a really well-designed electrical propulsion system, it's about 92%. That's a huge difference. And so for the energy that you put into the movement that you get, electrical propulsion is superior. Plus, of course, you don't have the noise, you don't have the vibration, you have less servicing costs, and you don't have any tailpipe emissions, which of course is good for the environment. And that's why it will be the technology of the future. It will take us some time to get there, but it will be the technology of the future. In the same way, 100 years ago, steam was the propulsion technology, and then it went to internal combustion, and now we're moving from internal combustion to electrification. And no doubt, 20 years' time, we will probably move to something else, but for the time being, electrical propulsion, I think, is the reason why that's become so important, not just in China, but globally.
Okay, that's also something that customers around the world are looking for in EV cars as well. And finally, as a company that's deeply rooted in China, how would you comment on China's continued efforts to try to improve its business environment for foreign investors?
Yeah, I'm very encouraged by China. Every time I've visited China, well over 30 times. I forget how many times, but certainly well over 30 times. I've visited many cities in China as well. And every time I come back, even from the early days when I first started coming to China to today, I'm always encouraged by how it reinvents itself quickly, how it keeps the pace of change, how it keeps the innovation cycle, how it inspires young people, especially to take up subjects like engineering and computer science and so on. So I'm very optimistic that China will continue to develop at a fast pace and will continue to be very successful.
Yeah, that is also based on the figures that actually in 2023, that was a good year for Volvo. As you said, it was also a good year for China's auto market because we saw record numbers in cars being produced and sold in this country. So what would be your expectation for China's auto market in the new year?
Well, I think it will continue to grow. I think we have the demand for cars. I think especially we're seeing a lot more young people buying cars. The affordability of cars are coming down now as well. And you're also coming into the second cycle, I think, within China, where people who first own the car are now ready to refresh and upgrade and buy a new car, or indeed buy a second car. As the country becomes more affluent and there's more disposable income, you'll start to see dual car ownership. You'll start to see people buying cars for their children. All of that phase, I think, is still to come. So I'm optimistic that we'll still see good sales growth in China in the coming years.